Welcome back to all our viewers. I'm Anjali from Simplilearn, and today we look into while loops in Python. So previously we briefly went through while, for and nested loops. We saw that for loops are used mainly to iterate over a sequence. While loops are basically used to repeat a section of code an unknown number of times. So if you have a certain code that needs to be repeated, say n number of times, where n will be decided during the runtime, you can definitely opt for a while loop. And every time you move into a while loop, a specific condition is checked. The minute that condition results in false, that's when you exit out of the while loop. So here's the syntax for a while loop. You have the while keyword followed by the expression or the condition. This is what needs to result in true to enter the while loop, and the expression is followed by colons, and in the very next line you can put down the various statements that go into your while loop. So now that we saw what a while loop is typically used for and the basic syntax of a while loop, let's move into a few demos and explore the various applications of while loop. So I'll be performing my demos on PyCharm. Now my first demo is a typical example of any loop statement. Suppose I want to print these strings Simplilearn 10 times. I could do this using the print statement alone and have the statement copy pasted 10 times. That could work, but with loops we have a much simpler way of doing this. Since we are talking about while loops, that's what we'll use. So say while, and I want to print my string 10 times. So I is my counter, and I say I less than equal to 10, colon, and in here I put my print statement just once. Now I is the counter, as I mentioned previously. So this counter needs to be initialized first. We need to give it a starting value. So I starting value will be 1, and I will move from 1 to 10. That means every time you're inside the loop, every time Simplilearn is printed, I needs to be incremented by 1. So I equal to I plus 1. Now a shorthand of doing this is you can have I plus equal to 1. This is exactly the same as I equal to I plus 1, just shorter and simpler. So I'll explain this once again before we run it. We have I equal to 1, where I is something that we're using as a counter. And then we have our while loop. So in our while loop, we are checking if I is less than equal to 10. And since the first time I is equal to 1, we will enter the while loop. Simplilearn will be printed. And in the very next line, we are incrementing I. So every time Simplilearn is printed, I gets incremented. We go back to the while loop and it's checked against this condition whether it's less than equal to 10. So the minute I is equal to 10, you'll have Simplilearn printed one last time. The next time we go back to the while loop, I will be 11 and the while condition would result in false. So we exit out of the loop, and since we have no more statements here, our program terminates. So let's run the code and check if everything works as we expect it to. So here we go. Simplilearn is printed 10 times. Now can you only increment your counter? No, we can also decrement our counter. So if I say I is equal to 10, that is I start my counter from 10 and I want to decrease the counter till 1. So we'll have the while loop executed as long as I is greater than 1. And now that we're decrementing I every time, we need to change the plus sign to a minus. So it's the exact same thing that we're doing now as we did previously. We are printing Simplilearn the string 10 times, but this time our counter starts from 10 and we go down to 1. So every time we check if I is greater than 1, and the minute I is not greater than 1, that is I is equal to 1, we do not print Simplilearn anymore, we just exit out of the while loop. So let's run this code too. So here the string Simplilearn is printed only 9 times. Whereas we want it to be printed 10 times. This because in our while condition statement, we put greater than 1. What we need is actually greater than equal to 1. So that even when I is equal to 1, we are printing Simplilearn once. So now if we run it again, we'll see that we'll have Simplilearn printed 10 times. So for our next demo, instead of printing something 10 times, let's find the sum of the first 10 natural numbers. So in that case, I would start from 1 and then we go all the way up till 10. So I is less than equal to 10. And within your while loop, we can remove this print statement. And now every time I needs to be added to some other variable. So we'll call that variable sum, and sum equal to sum plus I. So I starts from 1, and every time you go inside the while loop, you have to check if I is less than equal to 10. So as long as I is less than 10, you move into the while loop, and in the while loop, you keep adding this I to another variable sum. And after it's added, you increment the value of I, so that I goes all the way from 1 up till 10. And once I is 11, the while condition results in false and you break out of the while loop, moving to the next statement after the while loop, which in our case would be the print statement to print the final sum. So let's run this code. So can you guess what the error is in this case? Our variable sum here has not been declared or initialized previously. So outside our while loop, let's have a variable sum, and sum's initial value should be 0. Let's run the code now. And there you go. So the sum of your first 10 natural numbers would be 55. Now let's modify this code slightly so we can find the sum of the even numbers between 1 to 10. So our first few lines would remain the same. I will start from 1, sum will be equal to 0. Our while condition 2 will be the same, but this time inside our while loop, we'll have an if statement, and the if statement will check if I is an even number. So to check if a number is even, the remainder from the division of the number with 2 should be equal to 0. So I mod 2 equal to 0. And if that is the case, we can find the sum of the number. And whether that's the case or not, we still need to increment I every time within the while loop. So sum would come under the if statement, but I plus equal to 1 would remain under the while loop and not within the if statement. So I'll repeat this once again. I, which is our counter variable, will start from 1. Sum will be equal to 0. Every time our while loop will check if I is less than equal to 10. And every time I is less than 10, we can enter the while loop. Now within the while loop, we need to check if I is an even number, because we want to find the sum of only the even numbers. So if I mod 2 is 0, that means I is an even number, and we can add I to our variable sum. Now whether I is an even number or an odd number, every time we still need to increment I. So our incrementing statement would be outside the if statement and under the while loop. And finally, once we exit the while loop, we'll print our sum. We run the code, and the sum of all the even numbers between 1 to 10 is 30. Now let's explore while loop for the very purpose it was made, that is to run a certain code unknown number of times. So for this demo, we'll work on reversing an integer. So the first thing we do is we need to take the input from the user. So the user will give us the integer, and I'll store my input in the variable n. We also need to convert the input from the user into integer because it'll be provided in the string format. So we have the int function within which we'll have our input function. Now we'll declare another variable nr, which is basically our reverse n, and this will be initialized to 0. Now suppose n is equal to 5, 6, 7, 8. nr should be equal to 8, 7, 6, 5. So if you look at the values of n and nr, you'll notice that what we basically need to do is we need to remove the last digit from n and we need to add it to the front of nr. So to remove the last digit from a number, we can use the modulus function, that is n mod 10. And we need to keep doing this every time with n. So we'll keep doing this until n mod 10 is equal to 0. That is, until there are no more digits left in n. So this will be the condition for our while loop. So while n mod 10 is not equal to 0, we can continue with our statements. Now within the while loop, let's take a variable c where we'll extract this digit, that is n mod 10, would be stored in C. Now we need to add C to the beginning of NR. But now NR is an integer and so is C. So if we just say NR equal to NR plus C, what this will do is it'll add the two integers and it'll give you the sum. So in our case, if 8 is put into NR the first time and 7 is put into NR the second time, when we come to the statement where NR is equal to NR plus C, what it will potentially do is give you the sum of 7 and 8, which is not what we want. We want 87 to be stored in NR. We want the digits 8 followed by the digit 7 to be stored in NR. But now, if we multiply NR with 10 and then add C to it, our problem is solved. So if the first time we are putting 8 into NR, since NR is 0, it would be 0 into 10 plus 8 and NR would be 8. Now the second time when we extract 7 from N and NR is already 8 and we come to this statement here, it says 8 into 10 which is 80 plus 7 which will give you 87. So this way we can slowly build up NR. Now a small piece of the puzzle that we are missing is that the value of N remains constant throughout the while loop so far. So what happens if the value of N is constant is that every time you do N mod 10, you're extracting the digit 8. You're not moving forward to 7. So what we can do here is that once 8 is extracted, we completely remove the digit 8 from N. So that can be done by dividing N by 10. So now N equal to N by 10. But now in Python again, if we say N divided by 10, it puts a decimal point just before 8. So 8 is still there. But on the other hand, if we say N / 10, our result would be an integer and only 567 would be returned to N. Now, since N has reduced from 5678 to 567, the next time you go back to the while loop and do N mod 10, it's 7 that is extracted. And this way, we can extract every digit from N and keep adding it to NR in the reverse order. Now that we are done with our while loop, outside our while loop, we'll print the value of NR. Let's run this code. Enter your number. So I entered 4652 and my output was 2564, which is just as expected. Now we can debug this code too. Here's my debugger. So press F8 to move from one line to the next. Our first line, N, where you need to put the input. So go back to your console, put your input. I'll put a small number since we are just trying to figure out how it works. So 467 should do. Right, now go back to your debugger. So as you can see, the value of N is 467. Press F8 again. Now the value of NR is 0. We have reached our while loop statement. And N mod 10 is not equal to 0. That is, N mod 10 is basically 7 right now. So we move into the while loop and the number at the end of N is extracted and put into C. So C, as you can see here, is 7. Now we have reached the part where we add this number to NR. So NR is now 7 because NR was previously just 0. 0 into 10 is 0 and plus C, which is 7. So NR is 7. Press F8 again, and this time, as you can see down here, the value of N has been changed to 46 because we divided it by 10. So right now C is 7 from our previous iteration, N is 46 and NR is 7. Now once again we go back to our while loop. The while condition is checked and N mod 10 is still not equal to 0. So we go into the while loop. Now C is equal to 6 and NR is now equal to 76 because it was previously equal to 7 into 10 plus 6. And once again the value of N is changed. Now the value of N is just 4. So N mod 10 is still not 0. Go into the while loop. C is extracted. C is 4. NR is calculated, which is now 764. And N is changed. Now N is 0. So now 0 mod 10 is 0. And the while condition results in false. So we exit out of the while loop and we reach the print statement. And now our NR should be printed in the console. As you can see here, it is. Now let's write another program to calculate the length of a list without using the len function. So the first thing we'll do there is we'll create our list. So my list name is X and it has 3 elements, 1, 2.3 and the string simply learn. Now let's initialize our variable length, which will hold the length of our list. And we'll be using the while loop to do this. We'll have a counter I which is equal to 0. Now we'll run our while loop as long as x of I has something in it. Now we'll run our while loop as long as x of I has anything within it. So we can just say x of I. That means if x of I is equal to something, we'll be able to enter this while loop. Now within this while loop, we'll increment our length variable. That is, every time we are entering the while loop, it means that x of I is holding some value. So our length is incremented by 1. So you can say length equal to length plus 1, or as we saw earlier, you can just go with length plus equal to 1. Now x of I holds a value. We incremented the value of length. Now we need to move on to the next element, whether it exists or not. So we increment the value of I. So I plus equal to 1. And that's pretty much it. So the minute we reach the end of our string, that is x of I does not hold any value, while should result in false and we'll exit out of our while loop. So then we'll print the value within length. So let's run this program. But as you can see here, there's an error. While x of I index error list index out of range. This means that the first time we're going through the while loop, when x of I is 1, there's an element. So this means that the first time we're going through a while loop, x of I holds some value. The second time too, x of I is holding some value, and so is it the third time. But the next time when I is equal to 3, that is, we are trying to access the fourth element of our list x, there is no value, and this is resulting in the index error. So this is where we use the try block. The block that produces an error is put within the try block, and the try block is written like this with the keyword try followed by colon, and everything within it must be spaced or indented slightly to the right. So a while loop is the one producing the error. So the while loop comes within the try block. Now what happens is, once the error has occurred, try will catch this error and we will write another block which will handle this error. So this is our except block. And this is how it's written. You have your keyword except followed by the error that this block will be handling. So in our case, this is the name of our error, index error. So put that down here, colon again, and everything within the except block is again indented slightly to the right. And there you go. So our error, which was occurring previously, that is the index error, will be caught within the try block, and our except block will handle this error. Let's now run our code. And as you see here, this time our error is handled perfectly and it's just ignored, and the value of length gets printed, which is 3. So this is one way you can find the length of a list using while loop and not your len function. Now a while loop can be nested within another while loop. So for our next demo, we'll have a pattern printed using nested while loops. So this is the pattern we're attempting to print here. We'll take a value n from the user, which will be an integer, and that number n would basically be the number of rows in your pattern. So in this particular example here, n is 5 and we start by printing 1. So the digit 1 is printed once, and then in the next line the digit 2 needs to be printed twice, the digit 3 times, digit 4 times, and then finally the digit 5 times. So let's begin coding. First thing, we take the input from the user, store it in our variable n. Now we'll have one while loop which will be to take care of the number of rows. So our number of rows should be till n. So I is less than equal to n, and I of course will start from 1. So I will go from 1 up till n, Okay, so the outer for loop takes care of printing each row. Now within each row, as you can see, elements are printed. So if we are on our first row, then the number 1 is printed just once. If we are on our second row, the number 2 is printed twice, and so on. So we'll have another counter variable within our outer while loop, which is j, and j will be initialized to 1. Now j again has to run all the way from 1 up till I, because I number of times an element is printed on the ith row. Now we'll have our second or our nested while loop here, and the condition for this is j is less than equal to I, because j will go from 1 up till I. And as long as j is less than or equal to I, we enter the second while loop. Now within the second while loop, the only element that is printed in every row is element I. So if you're on the first row, 1 is printed, second row, 2 is printed, third row, 3 is printed, and so on. So what we need to print here is I. And every time we print I, we need to make sure that we are still on the same line. So end equal to quotes and increment j, of course. Now once we exit our inner while loop, we increment the value of I so that we can move on to the next row. So now that we are completed with one row, we can then move on to the next line to print our next row. So here we put in an empty print statement which will shift to the next line. And that's pretty much it. We can now run our program. So enter a number, let's say 5. And as you can see, our pattern's printed here. Let's try out another number, say 7. So our pattern can be printed for any integer. Now let's get on to our final demo. So here we'll try out a simple game. So program will generate a 4-digit number using the random function, and our user needs to guess this number. So for every digit that the user guesses at the correct position, we print that one place is correctly guessed. So suppose say our program generates the number 7632 and our user enters 8931. If you compare these two numbers, you can see that the second last digit here is both 3. So 3 has been entered in the correct position. Therefore, we can output 1 digit entered at the correct position. And in this manner, the user needs to guess all the digits in their correct order. If the user wants to quit this game at any point of time, he or she just needs to enter 10. So let's begin coding. First, as I already mentioned, we'll be generating a 4-digit number using the random function. So let's import our random library. Let's now generate a random number. So I'll store this random number in num_p because the p is for permanent, as we'll have another variable which stores the same number, but the value in that particular variable will be altered. Num_p variable, on the other hand, will remain constant. So this is our random number generated. And we want a 4-digit number. So our boundaries will be set. Now let's take the input from the user. So I'll store the input in a variable n. Okay, so now let's begin our while loop. And this while loop will run as long as n is not equal to 10. Because as I already mentioned, if the user enters 10, basically the user wants to quit the game. Now in here, the first thing we need to do is we'll create another variable num. And into this variable, we'll put the value of num_p. Because num is going to be altered throughout this program. And yet we want to store the actual value somewhere. So we'll alter num, and num_p, where p stands for permanent, will remain constant. Now we'll have another variable, cor, the short of correct, which will specify how many digits have been guessed in the correct places. So initially the value of correct will be 0. Now to check if a digit is in its correct place, so we need to extract each digit from both n, which is the number entered by the user, and num_p, which is the number generated randomly by our program. So to extract the numbers, as we did in our previous example, we'll use the mod function. So we'll run the while loop as long as num of mod exists. So you can just put num of mod 10. So what this means is that every time you do a number mod 10, it extracts the last digit. So if a number mod 10 does not have anything to return, that means our number is empty, and then we can exit out of our while loop. So now let's begin extracting the numbers. Now we'll have a variable num_c which will store the last digit from the variable num, which is basically the number generated by our program. So num mod 10 would be stored in num_c, and we'll have another variable which will hold the digit extracted from the number guessed by the user. So I'll name that variable nth_c, and that will be equal to n mod 10. Now just like we did in one of our previous demos, every time you extract a digit, you also need to remove that digit from the number itself. So now num should be equal to num divided by 10, and n should be equal to n divided by 10. Okay, so now we have the extracted digits. Now we need to check if num_c and nc are equal. So if num_c is equal to nc, that means there's this one digit which is held in both num_c and nc which is also present at the correct position. In that case, we increment our correct variable. And if this is not the case, we simply continue with our while loop. Now this process will continue as long as there's any digit left in num, or a variable n basically. Now once we exit out of the while loop, we must check if correct is equal to 4. So if correct is equal to 4, that means all the 4 digits guessed by the user were right and in their correct places. And that means that the user guessed the entire number correctly. So over here we have if correct equal to 4, you print congrats, you guessed it right. And if this is not the case, that is all the digits were not correctly guessed, then we'll print how many digits were actually correctly guessed in their correct positions. So else %d digits were guessed right. Now if all the digits were guessed right, that is the user guessed the number right, we can also break out of our while loop. So you put a break statement there, and we'll come back here where we print how many digits were guessed right. Since all of them weren't, we need to give the user another try where the user again enters a 4-digit number. So once again, we'll just copy paste this input line here so that the user can again guess the number. And this process will continue until all the numbers are guessed right and the control goes into this if statement and breaks out of this while loop. Now once the control flows out of this while loop, the program should be terminated because we have nothing else to print. But if the user does enter 10 instead of a 4-digit number, we need to exit the program immediately. That is, we need to exit this while loop, the outer while loop, immediately. So here we'll have an else statement, that is if n is equal to 10, then we print you quit the game, and the program will end right there. Okay, so that is done. Let's now run our program. Enter a 4-digit number. So I'm trying out 5673. Okay, I made a slight mistake here. %d digits were guessed right. But what is this %d? %d is just a placeholder. So we need to place the value of a variable COR there. Let's run this program once again. 6748 is my guess. So 0 digits were guessed right. Let's try again. 8256. Again, 0 digits were guessed right. Okay, so there are a number of permutations. To make it simpler, for the purpose of our demo, I'll just put in a print statement here, which will print the value of numpy, and accordingly, I'll show you how the program flows. Let me run the code again. So our number is 3345. Let's start with a completely incorrect guess. So 6732, 0 digits were guessed right. Now Suppose I guess my first digit is 3 and 976. So one digit was guessed right. Now, since I know my number is 3345, it's easy for me to say it was the first digit. It's pretty obvious. Let me try 3545. So 3 digits were guessed right and 3345, and congrats, you guessed it right. Now, if I had to quit the program, 0 guesses, but now I want to quit the program, so I enter just 10 and you quit the game. So as you can see, our program's running just fine. To decrease the complexity of the game, you can change it to like 2-digit numbers. So you can go from 10 to 99. Also, you can put a smaller range too. So with that, we come to an end to while loops in Python. If you have any doubts, you can definitely post them in the comment section below and we'll get back to you. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Also subscribe to our channel as we have a lot more great videos coming up. So stay tuned. See you all next time.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.